Welcome, everybody, to Coffee with Colby. We're excited to be joining you again today on this Saturday, whether you're watching this in the morning as it's premiering or even later at a later date or time. We're glad that you're here. I'm here again with Colby Clapp, our new minister, and we're excited to find out even more about Colby. And so, Colby, how's your day been going, man? How's this week gone for you?
It's been going okay. We're in the process of packing and taking apart. All the boys now are in their sister, Logan and Payson, we packed up their room because it's now our storage room where we're throwing all the boxes and stuff as we get it finished. So they're bunking with their sister, Rosa. So, Rosa loves that. She loves having her teenage brothers in a room with her, but right. It's okay. We'll make it through.
Man, I can only imagine. I only had one sibling, and it was an old. He always had to deal with me, luckily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, to get us started this week, I think a cool question to ask might be, what are some sports that you're into? I know we've talked a little bit about it before, but maybe not in front of everyone, and everybody's got their sports stories or legends, so to speak. So maybe what's some of your favorite sports that you played or even that you didn't play, or what are you into now? And
I don't watch a lot of professional sports now. Not because I don't like them, just generally don't have time, or I don't make enough of a point to prioritize it too much. I enjoy it. And we'll watch things, World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics, as a family together, and occasionally catch some other stuff too. But sports on TV, I don't know, just aren't as engaging to me as maybe they were used to be a long time ago. But I like being at sports in person. And actually, an interesting little tidbit is that when I was in high school, I got invited by from the family at church. I was same grade as one of their boys, and they invited me to go to the ballpark in Arlington and watch a Rangers game. This is close to the mid-'90s, like 94, 95-ish. I have to check the exact date. But anyway, it was my first ever time to go to a professional sporting event at all, because growing up we didn't really have money for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And but I went with this, and it happened to be Kenny Rogers' perfect game. We were sitting on the first base sideline. And so my first ever sporting event, professional, at the ballpark in Arlington, and watching Kenny Rogers' perfect game, and it was unreal.
Wow.
Like at the seventh inning stretch, everybody stood up and nobody sat down the rest of the game because everybody was wondering, is this really happening? And nobody was even daring to sit down. And I forget which player it was, made the diving catch there in the ninth.
Rusty Greer, baby.
Yeah, there you go.
Rusty,
that diving catch. Like you could just audibly hear everybody's heart skip a beat in the entire, stadium. And it was truly amazing. And I have to say, though, the second time I went and watched a sporting event, I was incredibly disappointed. It wasn't nearly as exciting. I think the second time I went, the Mavericks lost by like 30 points. And we went, the next year or something is group trip. I thought, well, this thing.
The Mavericks in the 90s. Oh, let's not talk about that.
But it was fun.
Wow. What a first-time experience, man.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous of you. I guess I can't be too jealous. I was probably 2 or 3 years old, so I would not have appreciated it quite to the level that you did. So.
Making me feel old, KT.
No, you're good. Oh, man. That's good. Awesome. What did you play?
I played sports, in high school. Football was, I'm from a small Texas town, so football, of course, is the main thing that gets most of the attention. And I played football, and I enjoyed it. I was a lineman. I was a center. I was one of the smaller linemen on our team, even though our whole team had a smaller line than most of the other teams who played. But, we did okay. We won district both my junior year and senior year.
Not bad.
But unfortunately lost the very first playoff game of both of those years right out of the gate. And so I remember my last game ever. I was a center, and I love going after the middle linebacker because middle linebackers often have their neck craned trying to see in the backfield what's going on. So perfect, just to hit them right in the chest and bury them into the ground when they weren't suspecting or they weren't focused on you. I was small and fairly quick for a lineman, so that's one of the ways I thoroughly enjoyed being a lineman. But I hated big nose guards. And my final game, it was against Italy, Texas. And this nose guard wasn't just big, he was fast. Like I was snapping the ball and he beat me off the ball. I don't know. Like I must have had a tell and he was the only one that I don't know.
Yeah.
But all game long, he was pushing me back into the quarterback just because I didn't have the strength or the size to stop him. And he was fast and he was strong. And he made me so mad that game. But it was okay. I mean, I still enjoyed playing. But that was my final game. I'm walking off that field, I'm like, why'd I have to end this way? But it was okay. But the funny thing is I played basketball up through my freshman year. And my freshman year, my coach made the suggestion maybe I could spend my time in other ways. So I was not near as gifted in basketball as I tell people I love basketball. I do. I really do. I enjoy playing it.
Sure.
I enjoy watching it. It has never really loved me that much as far as I have the classic coordination of a lineman.
Right.
So basketball is not but I'll play with you just so long as you don't expect too much. But yeah, he made the suggestion. So I went to with the rest of the off-season football guys, started playing track. And I threw the shot put. And my senior year, I made regionals barely. I came in second place, and at the district meet, which qualified me for regionals. But again, I was outgunned. I'm smaller than most of those other big hosses. And, I did not come in dead last at regionals, but I was, I think, third or fourth from the last. And I was sweating. I'm like, whoo, at least I wasn't very last. But I made it. And it was a fun track meet, even though I knew that most of those guys were outthrowing me by 10, 15, 20 feet even. But I enjoyed it still. And like I said, I squeaked by in district. And as far as high school sports, those are pretty much it. But and then college, I didn't play much. A little bit of intramural softball or whatever. But I'll play whatever. I love it. I love just the excitement of a game, either being there in person at a stadium, or I love just being on the field and participating in a team sport. But again, don't have really high expectations of me. I'm not some star or anything. But if you want to play a pickup game of basketball or play catch, football, whatever,
absolutely.
I'm there, so.
Absolutely. I think that's really cool that you threw shot put and stuff. I grew up playing mostly baseball. I played basketball through my freshman year, except it wasn't a coach that told me I didn't, quite mesh with basketball. It was the fact that I was still probably about 5'3" at the time.
At least you figured it out on your own, KT. I had to have somebody tell me, Colby, this isn't working.
It was a moment where I said, I'm hoping to grow, but right now it's not happening like I'd like to for this game. So anyway, I played baseball all the time, and I went to throw the shot put one time in junior high. And I'm telling you, it didn't go 2 feet. Because I'm a baseball player. I don't know what is this whole push thing? I throw a ball out here,
very different mechanic.
I nearly broke my arm. I put it away forever. So, man, that's cool. Maybe we can get a little church softball league going sometime soon. I think that would be a lot of fun. All right. So, last week I thought you had an awesome lesson. I really appreciated it. And I
appreciate that.
I thought it was very timely. I'm glad that we, as a church, haven't. I feel as though we have not, just continued to bring all of what we are in up and continue to push that to the surface. And I think we all know what we're going through now, and we're all still dealing with it. And I think that now that we're in it and we kind of have a better understanding of what we're in, I think it's so timely to talk about, like you did this week, the chaos, right? And so I guess something that I would love to hear you talk about a little bit is, when is a time in your life that you went through a moment of chaos, or a time of chaos particularly?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few. Everybody has. I'm sure you have too, KT. Chaos
Certainly.
again is part of this world,
Certainly.
and it doesn't
Not
come
just
in
shot
time.
put throwing.
Yeah,
You know, real chaos.
yeah. I mean, I definitely moments that have wrought me to my core. Um, Younger, I've talked about losing my dad, losing my brother, and there've been other moments too. I guess one interesting way that I guess I'll share with you, because I think it shows how a loving church family can really step up to the plate, is that when I was preaching in Iowa,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we had been there 3 years, I think, because Logan was turning 2 years old. And
Mm-hmm.
we got there, and at least was pregnant with Rosa when we moved there. And then Logan came.
Logan's your second oldest, correct?
Yeah, he's the second oldest, and he was a year and a half difference between Rosa and Logan.
Yep.
And so I think if we had just finished, started our third year there,
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to do all the math in my head. And haven't had enough coffee to do that yet, but
Right.
we haven't been there too long. I'm still a fairly new preacher.
Yeah.
But we went for his 2-year checkup, and they did a little finger prick blood draw, and did the basic test, and they do a lead test at 2 years old, and his came back elevated. And they said, well, that's not good. Let's actually take a vial of blood,
Mm-hmm.
from it, actually do more than a prick, actually do it out of the elbow.
Right.
And did it, and it was even higher than what the prick showed. And so they sent us to specialists there in Des Moines, and we learned a whole lot about lead exposure and stuff like that very quickly. And basically what they said is, he's getting it from your house. It's where it comes from, lead paint in the house. And we lived in an old parsonage that was actually built in the 1920s there in Des Moines, right next to the church parking lot. And it was a nice house for us, big and spacious, we thought back then. Now that we have 6 kids, it got that smaller.
A little different. Right.
But it's nice, but old paint, old woodwork, old windows, and especially the movement and the opening and shutting doors, opening and closing windows, all that kind of makes those paint flecks go up into the air and get on things. And so they told us, well, you're going to have to remodel. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it's not even our house. Well, then your owner's going to have to remodel, like a renter. Well, it's the church. And I mean, I wasn't sure how it was all going to go. I was actually wondering, well, should I be looking for another job now? Because that church had virtually no finances. Right. I mean, we were a week-to-week church at that point, especially, and as far as going to have enough money to cover all the bills or not, come the end of the month, or whenever they come due. And hopefully people put a little bit more on the plate this next Sunday, kind of a thing.
Sure.
So I was thinking, I don't have money for it. And so the elders, though, came to me after I shared with them what was going on. Of course, they said, well, we'll make it work, Colby. You don't worry about it, and you got to move out for 3 months and get an apartment. All right. And I actually told the elders, like, well, there's definitely not money for an apartment. I mean, I lived in the parsonage, and so, they didn't have the housing, money as part of my salary extra, especially because we were so tight to begin with. And I actually offered, I said, well, let me get like a job at night stocking shelves at Walmart. I did it in college. I worked at night stocking the shelves at the grocery department and Walmart. And again, I was just a few years out of college. I thought, just let me, they'll probably hire me. I have some experience, always looking for night help. And just a couple of months, I'll hold that down. And I maybe can't spend as much time, at the church building necessarily. I'll be sleeping during the day, but let me get something. And the elders vehemently said, nope, not going to let you. We're going to cover it. And they went to the congregation and told the congregation what was going on, and immediately
Yeah.
people kind of stepped up and gave, and this, so humbling because they were giving for my family, for the health and security and safety of my children. And they, enough where not only did they were able to do the repairs and the updates, all new doors, all new windows, all new woodwork, all over the entire house, because those are kind of the focus points of where lead exposure really, it's on the walls, but you generally don't mess with the wall, like you open and shut doors and open and shut windows. But anyway,
sure.
And we learned all kinds of stuff, but and so many of the members, put a lot of time and energy and sweat into that house as well. One in particular, who's a handyman by trade, I think he logged over 100 hours because he did all the windows himself.
Wow.
The church bought the windows, but he installed them all, and he's actually very good at wrapping siding. I mean, and the way that he could just wrapping siding is kind of hard because you have to reverse it as far as when you're bending it with the bending machine for it to go in just right. And his mind just could. I was impressed watching him do it. I'm like, you can just kind of, you could tell that he could reverse visualize it and do it perfectly every time. But anyway, it was still very time consuming doing all those windows. And again, the money as far as all the supplies and the work and the church kind of just, it was so encouraging, I guess, as a minister, as a young minister, just starting out, my first job.
As a young family. Right, young family,
not trying to raise kids, and that's crazy and scary enough without something like lead poisoning, which,
right,
again,
I mean, I think
we learn the worse it gets in some ways, but but his lead levels came back down fast, which is what they're supposed to do, as far as us getting out of that environment, and they monitor him for like the next 2 years. He had to go for a blood draw. Maybe for 1 year, I had to go for a blood draw every 6 weeks, and then it bumped out to every 3 months. And tell you what, a baby who walks into that hospital, like a 2-year-old, knowing what they're about to do, is hard to control. I mean, just, we would get out of the car and walk toward the building. He knew what was going to happen, and all the screaming and the kicking and the crying. And my job a lot was just sit and hold them as still as I could while they drew the blood out of them. So I looked at that needle, and anyway, I still don't like thinking about
Which certainly isn't easy for a parent.
No, but my camera's shaking. Sorry, I don't have a solid basis. But anyway, that moment of chaos, so to speak, really gave an opportunity for that particular church to really rise to the occasion. And because of that, I love them even more. They love me even more. And I tell you, when we did leave, I was there 12 years. It was hard to leave, partially because of that event that bonded us so closely together whenever I knew that they loved my family, and that that love was genuine because they had proven it. And other churches, I mean, I've seen that play out in other ways too, and other people, and some, again, God can use the chaos, and like what I said last week, that not only can he master it, and we turn to him in our prayers saying, God, help us with this chaos, but sometimes he can take and bring something good out of it. So and the love that we have still with some of the people up there in that church way up in Iowa is still our bonds that were formed, through that event somewhat. So.
Right. I guess for me, hearing you tell that story, which Colby's already told me the story, just to let you know, like, that's my second time hearing it. And something that really does stand out to me as you say that is just how crucial and how incredibly impactful it is when others around you, fellow Christians around you, in that moment of chaos, don't just say, hey, we're praying for you, hey, we love you. They pray for you, and they show you how they love you, right?
Yeah.
And
they're there in the moment with you. Yeah.
How incredible.
And in some ways, like that church particularly was financial, stability and help and encouragement, as well as the volunteer hours that many of the men and others, put into it. But just being there with you in that moment and knowing that as much as they can. They've got your back, and that's what the church should be. And I know, many of you
Definitely.
watching now, that is your church family, and that's the way it should be, to know that, oh man, those people, they have me, and I've got them, and that's what, that whole, this family interdependent structure community, I guess we have, is supposed to look like. So anyway, that's
Absolutely, man. Thank you for sharing that, because
yeah.
I'm sorry if Logan watches this and
No. Well, actually, one of the
bad memories.
obviously the classic things of lead poisoning is learning disabilities, but he's an A honor roll student. I mean, he has shown no lasting effects that we can tell,
Wow.
at least. From again, like those numbers went back down fast, and they told us, well, you may see some learning issues when he starts school or whatever, but he's been a straight A student just about all his life. So,
Man, that's
we
awesome.
feel blessed. I mean, it's an
Absolutely. I think God was working for you on that one.
very
Definitely.
true.
In every way, like you said. Well, thanks so much for sharing that. And I'm sure that that's a story that many can probably relate to. And, we've all got some story like that where we're in that chaos, and then either some person or something happens and we see God's hand at work, and know that
Yeah.
He's got us. And so
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I guess to kind of wrap this up, is there anything that you want to inform us about, kind of going into your sermon for tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, tomorrow's on chaos as well. It's the New Testament side. Last week was more the Old
Mhm.
Testament. Tomorrow is the New Testament, talking and two events and stories with the miracles of Jesus.
Mhm.
There's one of ththose stories is the casting out of the demons from the man named Legion, who had the legion of demons within him. And I'll do a little plug. I'm not a huge contemporary Christian fan as far as contemporary Christian radio. There's a
Mhm.
lot of songs on there that I'm not crazy about, I'll just say. I mean, everybody's
Right.
got the musical tastes and the things they don't prefer. And sometimes I just rather listen to good old classic country or even classic rock.
Right.
And because, well, just it's personal taste and stuff. But one of
Hey,
the
I'll
bands,
put you at ease real quick. I'm pretty sure a group of our members, our not so young members, this past year went to an Eagles concert together.
oh,
So
wow.
you're in good company.
Nice. Well, and I have to say, I'm also a proud parent, because saying that made me think, well, Payson loves the Eagles and the Beatles.
Wow.
He's a cool kid, because my kids don't know who's on the
Absolutely.
top 40 right now, pop charts or whatever, but Payson, his little
Right.
MP3 music player, like he'll just play
Yes.
the Eagles again
Man,
and again, and
you said MP3 player. That's what I had growing up.
yeah. Well,
That's awesome.
we've done the retro thing as far as that goes. I mean, my kids still don't largely have their own phones. Rose is the only one that has her own phone and
As
stuff.
they shouldn't.
Yeah, so I'm not eager to jump into that, but
Mhm.
when listening to music, I'm like, well, there's this thing that's been around a long time actually that holds a lot of songs on it, does nothing but play music. It's awesome, an MP3 player. So yeah, they
Mhm.
still make them. Interesting enough, so both Bryant
Really?
and Payson have, and I think even Raya has an MP3 player. But Payson is full of like Eagles, and he loves the Beatles as well. And yeah, so
Right.
anyway, I chased the rabbit a little bit. But as far as contemporary Christian music, one of the bands I do kind of like
Mhm.
is Casting Crowns, and I really like their first two albums more than I like the more recent stuff. Just because it was a little bit edgier, a little bit more kind of the rock
Right.
aspect. But the lyrics were amazing too. And they have a song that wasn't ever played on the Christian radio songs, I don't think, but it's on one of their albums. You can find
Mhm.
it on YouTube, and I'll send KT the link. But it's called "Set Me Free." It was off their second album, and it's about the story of the man Legion with the demon possession. And it's just,
Wow.
if you like, give it a listen, see what you think, because it's one of my
Yeah.
favorite songs as far as Christian genre in contemporary Christian music, and I think it's a pretty cool song that really
Absolutely.
shows some of the power in that story, both for him in that moment and us for today. So,
Yeah.
if you guys get ready for my sermon, maybe tomorrow and want to give it a listen, check out that YouTube link.
Yeah, I'll definitely put that down in the description below. If you're on, a device that you can't see the description, such as maybe your TV or something, maybe just call a relative if you need help figuring it out, or you can call me and I'll send it to you.
There you go.
Give it a listen.
If you can't type it in on something, just search "Casting Crowns Set Me Free." It'll come up.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, cool. I'm excited to hear that, and that makes me excited to hear your sermon, especially because that's a good story.
It is a good story. Yeah.
I'm excited to see what you do with it. Cool.
Hopefully you're excited tomorrow after you see it. And it's not like my second baseball outing where like, oh, not a perfect game again.
That was good. Awesome. Well, Colby, thank you again, man.
Thank you, KT.
I've thoroughly enjoyed these. As you mentioned on our live the other night, we're going to be kind of halting the Facebook lives for now because of, y'all moving and everything and getting kind of settled in and all of that. But we still will be having our Family Fridays, our Ministry Minute on Monday, and then for the time being, our Wednesday night Bible study with the elders. So, and we're going to continue Coffee with Colby. So yeah. I'm excited for that. Maybe most of all, I'm enjoying these a lot, and I hope others do as well. So if you like it, be sure to like it, or on the Facebook post or whatever, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. And look forward to
sending those questions, because I maybe can't answer them overly well, but maybe get a good laugh.
Well enough. Absolutely, man. We look forward to worshiping with you all tomorrow and learning a little bit more about chaos. So, or how to get through it, at least.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Thanks, Colby, and we'll see you all tomorrow.